necessarily represent those of ReviveFM or its management.
Hello there, everybody. Now, I know what you're thinking. Hang on. Isn't he normally on a Tuesday? No. Relax. It's Thursday. It's nearly the weekend. All right. We're in lockdown, so a weekend is kind of a moot point at the moment. But anyway, you're locked into ReviveFM 94.0. My name is Thom Hutchinson. And, well, this is a bit different because normally you used to see me with Henry Scott between 5 and 7. But Henry was on the show earlier on the station earlier on, I should say. So massive congratulations for his show earlier on. I would recommend you check it out on Facebook at ReviveFM UK, or it will be repeated later on during the week. But I'm actually here today to discuss a topic about lockdown, which has divided quite a few people. Now, the difference between this lockdown and the previous lockdown is that the schools and places of education are remaining open. Now, it has divided quite a few people. So I've got a couple of guests on today. I'd like to introduce you to Caroline Killick, who is from Redbridge for Education. And I also have Venda Prikumar, hope I said that right, from the National Education Union. So hello, can you hear me? Oh, hello. I think we're coming on. There we go. That's right. Hello. And Caroline, are you there? Can you hear us as well? I think we might have some issues.
Oh, hello. Yes. Hello.
Yes, there. Brilliant. Just what I need for my first solo show. Any technical problems. Great. At least you can all hear us. That's fantastic. So if possible, I'd like you to introduce yourself. So Vinda, if it's okay to start with you, just explain a little bit about yourself and what the education union.
Yeah, so my name is Venda Premkumar. I am primarily I'm a teacher. I teach in a secondary school in Redbridge. I have been a teacher for 14 years and I absolutely love what I do. But more recently, I've also taken on the role of National Education Union Joint Secretary in Redbridge as well. And that involves supporting colleagues in the education sector with union support. Okay,
fantastic. And Caroline, if you can just introduce yourself as well and just explain a little bit what Redbridge for Education is about, what the actual group is for.
Oh, hello there, Tom. Yeah, I'm Caroline Killick, and I've been campaigning with a small parent-led organisation called Redbridge for Education. We were campaigning earlier on this year that schools should not go back until it's safe. And we had quite a large campaign at that time. And generally, we're campaigning for the well-being of staff and pupils in education at the moment, particularly. We only started this year and as a direct response to the coronavirus issue. So, yes, in a previous life, I was a teacher of adults. So it's still in the profession somehow.
Fantastic. I mean, I know it's you know, it's like myself and Henry, my co-host on Tuesdays. We always say it's such like an unprecedented time at the moment of how things are going and how people are sort of transitioning into different roles. This is going to be a call-in show as well. So for our viewers, if anyone would like to contact us, our studio number is 0333 444 0940. We'd love to get your opinions on whether you are for or against schools being closed during lockdown, and even just share some of your experiences. How have you found your first day in lockdown? How did you find the previous lockdown with regards to sort of education? Did your children notice anything different? So that's kind of what we're going to do for the next hour. So we basically want to sort of get the ball rolling with regards to obviously it's too early to sort of say how we're finding it, should we say, after one day of lockdown. But has there been sort of like a general consensus of like, bearing in mind we knew the second lockdown was coming, was there more sort of preparation this time? Was there more sort of safeguards put in place, things like that?
Shall I go first, Karen?
Yeah, if that's possible. Sorry,
I think so. Yeah, I think that one's interesting.
Yeah. Obviously, schools have been open since September, and even when we went into the first lockdown, risk assessments and safety measures became a really important part of what schools were doing to ensure schools were as safe as they possibly can. And so when we came back, so schools were partially closed in the first lockdown, but in September they opened fully. So lots and lots of, safety measures. I think head teachers all over the country have been working immensely hard to ensure schools are safe. So there's a lot of work that they're doing around risk assessments and ensuring as much as possible that they're doing everything within their power to ensure there's measures in place. But I think what we need to recognise is that it is so things like social distancing is near impossible with schools at the moment. You know, if we think about our schools, they tend to be very small classrooms, and at the moment what teachers are having to do is teach 30 children. That's the average class size for our classrooms, and so you're not going to get social distancing. That's not happening, you know, and within a normal classroom so social distancing is not happening, and our classrooms tend to be very poorly ventilated as well. Some school windows don't open because our buildings are so old. Some windows are just kind of locked shut. If you're lucky enough to be in schools where windows do open in your classrooms, you know, it means you are the windows you have, you're leaving them open, and it's, you know, it tends to be quite freezing. I taught my classes today, all of us with our scarves on and our coats on, and some of the kids had their gloves on as well because it was so cold. But we need proper ventilation, but our school buildings are just not fit for these conditions. So I have the greatest sympathies with head teachers who are trying to do the best under the circumstances. But I think, you know, it's a kind of a false idea to suggest, you know, you could put lots and lots of measures in place and then everything is okay, everything is safe, and we can carry on as normal. I think what is true is we're all trying our very best under very difficult circumstances, but lots and lots of concerns, very serious concerns, still exist within the education profession. And this is why the largest teaching union, Education Union, the National Education Union, is calling for schools to be closed and to be included part of this lockdown. So schools are exempt from the lockdown. So they, you know, as you said at the start, they're continuing as normal. And of course, teachers were so excited to be back in school in September. You know, I loved going back into school in September. It was absolutely wonderful. Back, lovely. I teach in a secondary school, so year and 7 students was such a lovely, you know, a nice time for them because they're starting big school for the first time. So it was lovely to kind of invite them back. And my year 11s as well, who I hadn't seen for months because they'd been under lockdown. It was really nice to see them, welcome them back, and really reassure them that, you know, they're going to be okay in their exams. We're going to try our very best to overcome all of the difficulties. And just to kind of reassure them, it was lovely to see that. And of course, we want to continue to look after our children and provide the best education possible. That's why we're in education. But the safety concerns are very big. They are major. And schools are not isolated places. They are part and parcel of the community that we belong to. So a school is not just, you know, an isolated environment. Kids come into school, young children come into school, and, you know, they mingle in very, very large classroom, large groups within the classroom, but also outside of the classroom, communal areas and playgrounds. You can have bubbles of 250 students. A year group can be 250 students, and that tends to be a bubble in a secondary school. So they're mingling in very large numbers. And so, you know, there are significant concerns that are there for teachers, and this is why the union is saying schools should be a part of the national lockdown, so that for a short period, it's a serious lockdown. We don't ignore the fact that schools are major sites of transmission because they are part of the community, because children are going back to households where they could be taking the virus to, vulnerable members of family as well. So we want schools to remain open, but that means taking some difficult decisions, but also ensuring we've got measures in place as well, so that schools stay open for, schools remain open, and there isn't this uncertainty that surrounds school opening. Because what we've got at the moment is, in some schools, you've got lots and lots of year groups who are in school for a little while and then out of school for 14 days because children or staff are having to self-isolate. So the experience for students and staff in schools is rather chaotic at the moment. So I know of a school in Redbridge where 3-4 year groups have had to isolate. And you've had about 2 year groups only in school, and that's a real mess. I think we need to take advantage of this lockdown and shut things down, and then we're post lockdown we should be using that time to plan properly. We need some long-term planning happening. And unfortunately, this government just seems so incapable of doing that. And the problem with not having proper planning in place is communities are put at risk. And as educators, we know it's not just our children that we care about. We are schools are at the heart of communities, and we feel that there's a social responsibility to ensure our community is safe as well. So I think for that reason, this is why the National Education Needs Union is calling for schools to be a part of that lockdown.
Yeah, I think I do agree with you on that. I mean, as I've always said sort of on our Tuesday shows, I feel like the coronavirus has created somewhat of a ripple effect with regards to how things are done. I think our government at the moment is kind of more looking at short-term goals and not so much looking at the long-term goals. Caroline, how have you sort of found it from like a parent's side of like with regards to say like the first lockdown where a lot of classes were being done via Zoom and things like that? Have children sort of just accepted this now as kind of like quote unquote the new normal, or are they missing that sort of structure of when they're going into a class, getting to see their friends without having to social distance? Are they sort of how are they coping with the change, and how are the parents coping with the change as well?
Okay, so it's a really good question, Tom. What we found for the parents that contacted us was there were huge differences in how parents and pupils were coping. Obviously, it's a very long time for children to be out of school and indoors as well without having any outside activities to be able to do. So, for example, we're from Ilford South, and it's an area that's known to have quite a high rate, like the rest of London, of poverty in families. And what we found was at least one school did no lockdown learning at all, based on a high number of children without internet access or computers. School decided it wasn't possible to give all of those children access to that at the time, and they decided to do no lockdown learning at all online. Now, obviously, that's really quite an extreme example, but we found ourselves wondering, is it really an extreme example? Is anybody doing the numbers on how many children are lockdown learning? How many children don't have access to internet? I mean, I've read many estimates as to how many children don't have access to broadband or devices, for example. Lots of children do it on data plans that are not full broadband, and they do it from their parents' phone, and that's for normal everyday homework. So add to that, you've got parents who just found it really difficult to get the kids to sit down. I mean, most of us are not teachers of children. We've got a lot of teachers who are parents as well. But for those who are not, that's an incredibly big task to do 5 days a week for months on end before the 6 weeks holidays. So there were real difficulties there as well. It's difficult to get some children motivated, and other children are more than happy to get up and stick to the structure of some schoolwork. So We also found that the mental health toll on children and parents really quite high in some cases, whereas other parents manage to cope with it and deal with it, and their children actually seem to thrive as a result from being at home. So there were real difference, real mixed bag. As you probably know, Tom, there are huge groups campaigning for schools to stay open, or were campaigning for schools to reopen, and there are huge groups who are campaigning for schools to stay shut as well. Mixed in with those bags are a huge variety of experiences, really, right across the country, I think.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I mean, something I want to touch on in the next after the break on our show is kind of those people who are, as you said, are either sort of struggling with, let's say, trying to get access to either the internet or the education or anything like that, which is not easy. I mean, I can speak from experience, like having to spend sort of £87 a month on a broadband plan for my home. For some people, that's not feasible. So maybe the government, if they can hear us, maybe need to look into subsidizing certain internet plans, or doing like a peak and off-peak time, like an education time. So maybe that could be something that if anyone in anyone within earshot of our voices, they could look into. But it's also just with regards to other things, such as people, who might be in like a vulnerable situation. So obviously we'll discuss that a little bit further, or a little bit later on in the show. What we will do is we're going to head to a break now. So if you stay tuned, this is Revive FM 94.0. If you do want to call the studio, we are taking phone calls until 7 p.m. this evening. The number is 0333 444 0940. We want statements. We want how you've been handling it so far, how you think you're going to handle heading up to Christmas, anything like that at all. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Through Minhaj Welfare Foundation, your giving saves lives. Your support has provided more than 3 million people with access to clean and safe water, emergency relief in natural disaster and crisis-affected areas around the world, supported orphans and needy children with a better future. This year, your help can do more. Donate your zakat and charitable donations to any of your chosen projects. Call us now, 0300 3030 777, or visit us on minhajwelfare.org.
Amigos, the signature name when it comes to burgers and shakes. Our succulent burgers are prepared in front of you while you wait. Whether you go for our 6-ounce Mexican or our 10-ounce Texan, or you decide to go for our messy fries or our buffalo wings, one thing you're guaranteed is quality. Dine in with your friends and family at 400 Cranbrook Road, Gants Hill, or order in on Uber Eats, Just Eat or Deliveroo. Amigos, hats off to great burgers.
Super Best Meze Grill, the Turkish restaurant where all our food is prepared to perfection. Our mixed grill family platters include lamb shish, chicken shish, Adana kebab, lamb ribs, chicken doner, chicken wings and lamb chops, and all are served with rice, salad, along with a selection of our cold mezes. To see our full menu, go to superbestmezegrill.co.uk. For the perfect dining setting, visit us now at 21 to 23 Broadway, Stratford, E15 4B, or call 0208 555 335. Super Best Meze Grill.
We're facing the biggest health challenge of our generation, and we've shown that together we're stronger than ever. But to keep making a difference, we need to support each other. If you're a man and you've had coronavirus recently, then you might just have the antibodies to help save lives in your blood plasma. That's why we urgently need men to donate. Giving blood plasma is safe and easy. Be the difference. Search Donate Plasma or call 0300 123 2323 today.
The new NHS COVID-19 app immediately shows me the risk of coronavirus in my area, so I can warn Mel.
It lets me quickly check into venues with a QR scanner, so I can protect Alid.
It tells me fast if I've been in contact with other app users who have coronavirus, so I can alert Emma.
It helps me protect all my loved ones, even Auntie Sue. The more of us who get the app, the better we can control coronavirus. Protect your loved ones.
Get the NHS COVID-19 app.
Download now at Google Play or the App Store.
This is an important update about coronavirus. To help save lives, new national restrictions are now in place until the 2nd of December. You must stay at home. Only leave home for food, medical reasons, exercise, education, or work. You must work from home if you can and avoid travel unless essential. Go to gov.uk/coronavirus for latest guidance and exemptions. Stay alert, control the virus, save lives.
Nikah, talaq, counseling on matrimonial disputes, Islamic wills, Islamic law of inheritance, or an Islamic verdict on any other issue. The Muslim Sharia Council is at your service. We provide official certification, and our experienced and highly qualified imams are available to provide you with guidance when needed. MQI London is based at 292 to 296 Romford Road, Forest Gate. We are open from Monday to Friday, 2 to 4 p.m. or alternatively, call us now on 0208 257 1786.
Revive FM
94.0 on the radio,
on your mobile,
and online.
Hello there, you're back on Revive FM 94.0. My name is Thom Hutchinson. I'm here for a very, very, very special broadcast. You can contact us here live in the studio on 0333 444 0940. That's 0333 444 0940. I am here with Caroline and Venda still. We are discussing the fact that the schools are staying open during lockdown this time, which obviously they didn't do the last time. Now, I was actually looking in the break, and I wanted to sort of get your opinions on this. We were discussing, or just before the break, I was saying about sort of, we think the government's sort of looking at short-term goals, which is, we kind of feel like how they're dealing with this. Let's be honest, it's an unprecedented time. There's actually, I've got a quote here from The Independent, which is from Michael Gove speaking to and on the Andrew Marr's program. And he believes that sort of keeping the schools open is indirectly sort of helping the economy, because obviously parents are not having to take time off of work to look after their children. Caroline, how would you respond to that? And sort of like, do you believe that that's kind of the right way to go, or do you feel that it could be like a different solution to the what we currently have at the moment?
Okay, so our current situation our current situation in schools, Tom, is that coronavirus number 50 times higher than they were at the beginning of September in secondary schools, and 9 times higher in primary schools. I do believe there are better solutions, but to go through those solutions, I'm going to have to look at the background and how we got to be here right now. First of all, I do have some solutions just in case anybody of influence. I'll talk about those afterwards, but you know, we've got examples of success with coronavirus so far, and some of those that have been successful have found within a few weeks of opening borders, for example, they're struggling to deal with numbers again. But I've got 3 examples of countries here: Taiwan, New Zealand and Vietnam. All had under 40 deaths. Taiwan had 7 deaths. Vietnam had 35 deaths in a population of 95 million, and they're actually experiencing positive GDP growth right now as a result. Now, there's several things that these 3 countries have actually in common. First of all, media action. We knew that this virus was going free and fast in China and very soon out towards the world. Our Prime Minister, unfortunately, missed several, I think it's 4 or 5 COBRA meetings, well before we went into lockdown. So COBRA obviously are emergency meetings. We're in a global pandemic. This is a global crisis. You would imagine that the first thing a Prime Minister of the country would do would be to attend those and do some proper planning. Secondly, they immediately closed their borders. Thirdly, they quarantined flyers. Fourth, before you knew I'd get to this, they all had really effective test, track and trace systems. A couple of the countries actually had pandemic planning that they put into action. Now, test, track and trace. In those countries, this was not handed to organisations with no tender, who lobby the Tories, who lobby the government, friends who have given donations as Tory party donors. What else do we have? Dormant companies that have never done any work whatsoever, companies that have never provided PPE, companies that have never provided test, track and trace, never mind about in the middle of a global pandemic. I could go, as I'm sure you know, Tom, on and on and on. And in fact, in the public purse, we've got a £9 billion black hole at the moment that some MPs are taking some legal action about. I believe Caroline Lucas might be leading that, taking legal action at the moment to find out what happened to £9 billion of taxpayer public purse money that seems to have just suddenly disappeared into some of these companies. Now, in just a few minutes there, really, I believe that says a lot about how our country handled, or how our government handled, the pandemic. Unfortunately, most people had no choice but to follow what they said the rules were at the time, i.e. but if we'd had some immediate, really strong action right at the beginning of this, I don't believe that we would be having this conversation now about should we go into second lockdown and should going in with that. I mean, it's impossible to get a perfect situation here.
Yeah. You are right.
But if you want to look at examples of success, then Taiwan, New Zealand, Vietnam, at the moment, at the very least, are examples of that success. And we need to ask why. We need to ask why is this happening right now? Why do we need to discuss schools? Should schools go back at this time? And thousands of people projected and who have died since the 21st of September, when the SAGE group recommended to the government a full circuit breaker, which was due to take place during half term and a week after half term. That was absolutely rejected. SAGE recommended work at home, not mix with other households, close all bars, restaurants, gyms and personal services, and that school should continue in person after the circuit breaker for many good reasons, as we know. That was rejected. And again, you talk about planning. I think Venda mentioned short-term planning, and you've mentioned it yourself, Tom. It seems to be the only solutions we've had put forward have been really short-term planning. And Venda will know that schools and head teachers have constantly had guidance given 24 hours before it's supposed to be implemented. I think there was a period during lockdown where head teachers and schools had 40 different pieces of information within a matter of a couple of weeks, sort of 24 hours before it was supposed to be implemented.
Is that right?
So,
is that kind of how it's been? Like, is the information that way?
I can't say I can't say exact numbers, but I did recollect hearing somewhere there've been like 300 different directions that head teachers have received, and you know, these aren't public health officials. They came into the profession to to lead teaching and learning, and I think they're doing a very admirable job. But absolutely, you know, the information is late, is rushed, is unclear. It's, you know, it's very difficult to make heads or tails of, you know, in the best of times. So yes, yeah, I don't think, you know, head teachers have been in an enviable position at all. And, you know, I think, you know, they should be really congratulated on the very difficult task that they have been doing without extra supporting, extra funding, I should say, as well. There's been no funding guaranteed for all this kind of extra spending that is going on. I think in relation to your question, Tom, about schools being open, how that supports the economy, I just think it's really concerning when you put people's health on the opposite spectrum of the economy. You know, I just think it's really concerning. It's either or. And that reminds me of of this kind of suggestion that the government could be pursuing herd immunity. We heard about that at the start of the pandemic. You know, a few lives lost. It's, you know, never mind. I think that's really, really concerning. What we really need to ask is, why does the government not have a zero COVID death approach. You know, why can't we have that approach? As this is what independent SAGE, have said and have called for. Why are we not serious about curbing this transmission? Why is it half-hearted? I think that that's a really, really, serious question. And, how many deaths could have been avoided if the government was serious? And as I said, if the government was serious, they're about curbing the transmission, about cutting the deaths, schools would be part of this national lockdown. And, there are so many things that could be done to ensure that, yes, schools remain safely open. There are so many, creative ideas if the government engaged with the teaching profession, listen to people who know what they're talking about, the head teachers unions, the education unions. We need regular testing. If we had regular testing, we could stay open. Why are educators not being regularly tested? They're just about trying to introduce that in care homes. Too late. We spent millions, but why is there not regular testing taking place? We should be really getting extra buildings so that we can have small bubbles and smaller class sizes. So instead of packing 30 students and a teacher and a TA into a classroom and saying, get on with it, why can't we have half the class numbers? So if there is a positive case, we'll only be sending 10 students home, 5 students home, 1 educator home, as opposed to sending over hundreds.
Sorry, Venda, just to cut you off, we've actually got a caller on hold. So let me put them through now. Oh, I think they might have gone. Okay, never mind. We did have a caller on the line. Hopefully they'll give us a call back. If you do want to call in, it'll be 0333 444 0940. That's 0333 444 0940. I'd actually like to try and ask just one little final question before we go to our next break. So obviously we're talking about the fact that sort of schools should remain closed now, or we're talking, obviously it would be an idea for schools to close. Now, on the flip side of that, we do have, I think our call has just come back. Give me 1 second. There we go. Hello, caller. You are on ReviveFM.
Hi there.
Hello,
can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, basically, very, very interesting conversation. I'm listening to this quite intensively. Basically, I've got a couple of questions. The first thing is we keep hearing these are unprecedented times. These are times which we've never lived through. But at the same time, schools are pretty much open like they are normally. Yes, I understand they've got PPE equipment and stuff like that, but why can we not have a system where during the summer holidays, instead of the kids having 6 weeks holidays, they maybe have 4-week holidays? Why can we not have half the kids come in 1 week and take one and 1 week they have off, and 1 week and another set of kids come in, and we basically stagger it to stop the transmission? Why is the government not putting the resources in for online learning? I just think that schools are probably it's probably spreading more in schools, and to keep schools open is more dangerous because kids don't show symptoms. So at least in bars and places like that, they've put measures in place, and adults go there. So if somebody's not feeling well, they'll show symptoms, they won't go. Whereas kids, half them won't even show symptoms, but they'll certainly spread the virus to parents and to vulnerable people who they live with. So it just really doesn't make any sense to keep schools open. That's the first thing. And the second thing I want to just ask is, how much power does local councils have on school policy? Because I know it's a national policy, but if somebody said, look, you know what, I'm not risking it, I'm at very high risk and I'm going to pull my kid out of school, I don't care, do whatever you need to do, but then is at risk of losing their child's place in that school, how much flexibility is there for local council to say, no, we're going to be a lot more flexible, and if somebody does want to pull their child out of school because their parents are vulnerable, they're not going to lose their place. So that's sort of like the first one's a suggestion, and the second one's a direct question.
Okay, so if we get, I think probably Venda will be the best person to ask, I think, for that. And Caroline, if we can get your response, if we can just have them say about a minute each, if that's possible, then we can go to our break.
Oh, okay. I totally understand about the concerns about, some parents having concerns about sending their children into school. I think, to be honest, I think local authorities are, working really hard. But a lot of the things come from the Department for Education, and they are held accountable by the Department for Education. So how much exact flexibility, I'm not sure. But I think if there are concerns, then parents should be getting in touch with head teachers and starting a dialogue with them, because I think schools want to help, and schools, they're having to stay open, and local authorities are supporting them in that. But I think that conversation needs to start pretty early, so that you don't end up losing places. I don't think local authorities or head teachers are taking a punitive approach. That's what I want to say.
Okay, and Caroline, what do you think with regards to, say, as the gentleman says, the staggered sort of going back to school? So say we'll have one group in 1 week and then have another group in like say another week, for example. Do you think that could be something that works? Has that ever been brought up in any of your discussions or your meetings?
Okay, so I just wanted to address your caller's 4-week holiday. This has been suggested several times, but understandably, schools were actually open the whole time, so teachers actually didn't have the whole lockdown time, first lockdown time off. So their 6 weeks holiday that they had as part of their contract was still their 6 weeks holiday, as far as I know, that they had as part of their contract. Rotated learning is a solution put forward. I can't speak from a head or teacher's perspective about this. I would imagine it would be incredibly hard to accommodate without extra funding, as Venda says. It's a great idea. It would be probably pretty hard to accommodate on practical terms anyway, and particularly when, for example, my child is still studying for SATs, so they're having to do a whole year's worth of learning in 6 months to be prepared for SATs that the government have insisted are going to still happen in May next year. So it would be very difficult to do that. And I mean, we're talking about 6-year-olds at the moment who at least 1 day a week are spending that whole day doing one subject of English and English comprehension, for example. So they're being pushed to limits at the moment, and I can't see for head teachers. I think I agree with Venda. Head teachers and teachers are really going above and beyond to even be there at the moment. Never mind about fulfil all the obligations that they have to. And while I agree, it seems like a sensible approach. I think there are a lot of issues that will make that really difficult, and not least of those funding. Most of my solutions will come down to it. Funding. The schools are underfunded. They've been underfunded for absolutely years. So extra funding is needed for any of the innovative solutions that we've got to put forward, and keeping schools open.
Yeah, I think you're right on that one. Right. Well, what we're going to do, we're going to go to our last ad break. So we're going to pay the bills. Stay right there. We will be right back.
As winter approaches, here's a critical reminder of coronavirus symptoms from Dr. Gupta.
The main symptoms of coronavirus are a high temperature or a new continuous cough, or a sudden loss or change in your sense of smell or taste. If you have any of these, to protect yourself and others, it is critical you isolate at home, even if you don't feel too bad. And you must book a test immediately. Use the NHS COVID-19 app or go to gov.uk/coronavirus.
Stay alert, control the virus, save lives.
Thinking about selling or letting your home? With Maxwell Estates, you don't need to look any further. Well established with over 15 years of experience, Maxwell Estates are specialists in residential sales and lettings. We manage over 200 properties in and around Northwest London, keeping our landlords and tenants updated with all the latest laws and legislations. Based in Edgware, our experienced specialist negotiators always ensure we maximize the full potential of your property. Call us now on 0208 952 0808 for a free no obligation quotation, or visit our website www.maxwellestates.co.uk for further information. Maxwell Estates, the name you can trust.
This is an important update about coronavirus. To help save lives, new national restrictions are now in place until the 2nd of December. You must stay at home. Only leave home for food, medical reasons, exercise, education, or work. You must work from home if you can and avoid travel unless essential. Go to gov.uk/coronavirus for latest guidance and exemptions. Stay alert, control the virus, save lives.
Businesses, time is running out. Starting on the 1st of Jan, anyone who deals with Europe will have to follow new rules on exports, imports, tariffs, data, and hiring. I know we've all got our hands full right now, but basically, if any part of your business crosses borders, you need to do something about it now. This is happening, so make sure you have everything covered. We haven't got long. Start now at gov.uk/transition. Check, change, go.
Minhaj School of Islamic Sciences provides quality Islamic education for children aged between 5 and 15 years old. As well as teaching classical Islam, including Tajweed, Fiqh, Seerah and Aqidah, we endeavour to equip children with essential Islamic manners, morals and values. Here at MSIS, our experienced teachers create an inspirational learning environment where we strive to cater for the needs of every child. For enrolment inquiries, inquire in person at Minhaj School of Islamic Sciences, Monday to Friday, 5 to 7 p.m. at 292-296 Romford Road, or email admin.edu_London@minhajuk.org.
The new NHS COVID-19 app shows me my risk of coronavirus and helps me protect my mum.
It lets me know fast if I've been in contact with other app users who have coronavirus, so I can quickly warn Dan.
It shows me the risk level in my area immediately, so I can tell Sue.
It helps me protect all my loved ones, like Kim and Chris.
The more of us who get the app,
the better we can control coronavirus.
Protect your loved ones.
Get the NHS COVID-19 app.
Download now at Google Play or the App Store.
Amigos, the signature name when it comes to burgers and shakes. Our succulent burgers are prepared in front of you while you wait. Whether you go for our 6-ounce Mexican or our 10-ounce Texan, or you decide to go for our messy fries or our buffalo wings, one thing you're guaranteed is quality. Dine in with your friends and family at 400 Cranbrook Road, Gants Hill, or order in on Uber Eats, Just Eat or Deliveroo. Amigos, hats off to great burgers.
Revive FM
94.0. On the radio.
On your mobile.
And online.
Hello there, welcome back to Revive FM 94.0. My name is Thom Hutchinson and it's the last part of our show today. I'm still here with Caroline and Venda. If you want to get your opinion on the show, please give us a call on 0333 444 0940. That's 0333 444 0940. Right, now we're going to talk about the kind of the flip side of obviously what we're discussing with regards to should schools be closed and or education happening from home. Now, someone actually brought this up to me the other day. Is there are situations sometimes at home, and it might be a bit difficult to discuss, but we kind of have to because we have to remain impartial. It might not be possible for some children to say be safe at home, and that sometimes a school can be either a source of not just a source of escape, but also for say for some children who might be struggling or parents might be struggling financially, a school meal might be kind of their main food for the day. And obviously we've heard about the things that Marcus Rashford is doing with his campaign. So I'd like to sort of just get it from both of you. So Venda, if you'd like to start, just to sort of get your opinion on the fact that even though we're saying it might be an idea for the schools to close, we could potentially be putting vulnerable young people at risk by having to stay at home for several situations. What would your take on that be?
I'm really glad you asked that, Tom, because I don't believe I covered it before. But when the union is calling for for schools to be included part of the national lockdown, what we are also saying is, like we did in the first lockdown, schools weren't completely closed. It was open to vulnerable children for precisely all the reasons, you've outlined. It was also open for children of key workers as well. And we think that's really, really important. Yes, totally. Schools can be safe spaces for some children, and schools will be very aware of who those children are.
Oh, so I think we had a little. I think there we go. Want to carry on? Sorry.
So absolutely, and we will be. We're saying exactly the same thing this time around as well. At schools, it should need to be open for vulnerable children and for key worker children. And if this government is as concerned as it says about disadvantaged children, then it should put its money where its mouth is, really, and fund meals during the holidays. So that should definitely, that was a huge mistake the government made with the Marcus Rashford proposal, not taking that seriously and not implementing that as well. So absolutely, we should be doing everything we can to be supporting disadvantaged children. And I think it's false to use schools or the kind of agenda around safety of schools to and then conflate that with disadvantaged children. If the government was serious, they would be funding laptops and broadband access for all of the disadvantaged children. The schools know these details. They would very happily work with the government in, identifying these children. We know that information, so it could be addressed. And so, just for schools to say all schools should be open, and that's the way we're going to address disadvantage, that's not true. We need really meaningful measures in place. So, if we do get into a position where we're having to do other lockdowns, and that's not unforeseeable, is it? It is possible we could have several lockdowns, and it's possible those could include schools as well if we're serious about keeping our communities safe. So we need the planning now. The government has had 8 months to get this right. We're still not there yet. How long? And how long does the government want to kind of sort this out? So yes, absolutely. Disadvantaged children should be our priority. Schools can definitely help with that. I just don't believe they are the government's priority. And, and I think it's false for the government to claim they want to keep schools open for the sake of disadvantaged children, because pre-COVID, post-COVID, during COVID, I don't think they have done that. And, in all my 14 years experience as a teacher, it's something I have been very passionate about and, talked and campaigned over. And, the government is lost in my experience to be addressing the needs of disadvantaged children.
And Caroline, what would you also to say on that as well? For like, obviously we have to watch what we say, but with regards to some of your members and things like that, I can't speak today. This is really going well. At least it's happening towards the end of the show. That's better than nothing. So, would you be happy to say, if we were to say is it better for them to go back in school, or would it be better to sort of have like an alternative area for them to go if they can't go to school and they can't stay at home? Would any of your team or your members like to see it, or your group like to see it, find like an alternative arrangement or an alternative area where they could still be safe and educated at the same time?
Yeah, I mean, I can't really say it's anything better than Venda. Vulnerable children, the schools are aware of who they are. They were in school previously while there was lockdown. We are aware, obviously, that there are a number of children who home is not a safe place for them, and they were at home anyway. They weren't in school. There are a number of vulnerable children who reported not to be in school. But I mean, I do agree with Venda again. If there was really any concern for those children pre-COVID, during COVID, and post-COVID, then that would be an issue that would already be sorted out. What you're actually talking about is a social services issue. I understand that children, you know, are vulnerable and they need that school to be for free school meals or for whatever the situation may be at home. But as Venda said, it's not on the schools to keep open for that one reason alone. That'd be a whole community worth of work to be able to look at all these children. And I'm not sure that it would be practical to have them in any other place other than school, to be perfectly honest. So, I mean, I don't know. I'm not an expert on that, and I can't honestly say. But Venda said pretty much all there is to say, I think, on that subject.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think what we've sort of agree with. I think that there are pros and cons. I can see in a way why the government is saying, obviously, we do need to keep schools open because we need to make sure that the economy is still going. Carol, I know you brought up things earlier on about countries that are actually seeing a growth in their economy as well. I suppose this is the route that we've gone down. I mean, it's going to sound a very weird analogy, but it's almost like a sort of a development route. So like, for example, in Formula One, if they get the development route wrong, their car is the slowest and towards the back. I kind of feel like, I don't know if you would agree as well. This is kind of what I feel like what's happened with the government at the moment. We've gone down a certain route and it's not the right way. And now we're having to almost backtrack and go down to it. But, I mean, I do hope that we can get this done, and hopefully, if our words have actually inspired anybody, please speak to your local councillor, your local MPs. Make a noise, make a fuss. This is why we live in a democratic country. This is what we are allowed to do. This is the reason why we fought for things back in World War I, World War II. Otherwise, we wouldn't have the right to vote. And I'm going off on a really weird tangent now because you can tell it's getting to the end of the show. I'm going to start doing Winston Churchill. You watch, but right,
go for it.
we should go to schools on the beaches, and this actually sounds like Boris Johnson, doesn't it? Right. I think on that bombshell, it's probably time that we start wrapping up. So, Venda, Caroline, it has been absolutely amazing speaking to you. And thank you for putting me at ease on my first solo show as well. You've been absolutely incredible guests. So, if you do want to catch the show again, it will be repeated later on in the week on Revive FM. You can also catch us again or watch the whole video again on Revive FM UK on Facebook and on YouTube. Again, thanks to my guests. Thank you all for listening, and we will see you next week on the 5 till 7 Tuesday Drive Time Show. Take care, everybody. Bye bye.
Thank you so